Now, welcome to the second part of our discussion on what to do with knowledge. Now, in case this is your first video, there is actually a first part to the discussion where I talk about testing knowledge, where I talk about processing and acting correctly on knowledge, and where I also talk about adding discretion to knowledge, that it is not enough to know things. It is not enough to actually be convinced about what you know. It is important to understand context. It is important to know that at times the best thing you need to say is nothing. As simple as that. At times the best thing you need to say, the best thing you need to do is nothing. Just don't do anything. Hold your peace. Add discretion. Learn to contextualize information. Learn to actually differentiate, distinguish between different categories of people. And we read Matthew 7:6 that talk about not casting precious gift before dogs or pearls. In other words, some information should just be kept to some people or should be kept for special occasion. It's not every time you just say everything as they come to you. That is that about adding discretion to knowledge. So if somebody said, for example, you have learned that somebody maybe defrauded or lied to their partner and they confided in you, under no circumstance should you just go about and divulge such information. It is very, very significant. If people have said, oh, this information is just for you and for you alone, learn to keep such like that. It is very important, and it also relates to important information, maybe about business, about career, and the rest. If you sign confidentiality agreement, for example, you don't just go and open your mouth or just go and talk about anything to anybody. These are vital things relating to discretion that we need to learn to add to what we know. Now, I'll go ahead and talk about two more things that we need to do with regards to what we know. Now, the fourth thing, the number 4 point I want to share with regards to knowledge is to add humility to knowledge. Now, somebody say humility again. Yeah, we talked about humility before as a step to knowledge. Now, humility is not just important in gaining knowledge, in acquiring knowledge. It is also important in applying it correctly. Now, and the reason why humility is important is this. Naturally speaking, the more we know, the more puffed up we become. And that's not just something that I came up with. The more we know, the greater the tendency of pride. So 1 Corinthians in the Bible, 1 Corinthians chapter number 8 verse 2, it says, we know that we all have knowledge, but knowledge pops up. Knowledge pops up. Knowledge has this tendency, this inherent trait to make somebody proud. You want to be proud of what you know. You want to show that yes, you are not like every other person because the results are there. We are not even talking about maybe pride without results. Now we are saying yes, there is evidence that you actually know, but you do need to add humility to knowledge. Humility and knowledge, that combination is very rare to find. That combination is very rare. Combination of people that are very knowledgeable but are also very humble. That is something that you find very rare to find. Now, and this is not just a spiritual matter now. It's also reflective even in the business world. Even in the business world, it is acknowledged that humility is very significant. Now, a man, the man Jim Collins that wrote a book called Good to Great, he actually talked about attributes of businesses that became great, that our businesses moved from being good to being great. And he talked about two major attributes of leaders of such companies, and one of such attributes is humility. That these leaders are unassuming, they are down to earth, if you like. They don't go about with this air that, oh, I know it all, I'm the boss, and things like that. Humility combined with knowledge, that as much as possible, this is something we need to be conscientious about. This is something you need to be deliberate about, that as much as you know, it is also important to take conscious effort to humble yourself with what you know. Do not be puffed up. Do not be too occupied with what you know, that you look down on people, that you ignore people, that you downgrade people, that you ridicule people. People are terrified at your presence, for example, because you are the boss or because you have results. People that are lower than you most times, in this context. This is why it is important that you understand what we are talking about with regards to humility. Now, and it's not difficult to understand. If you think about it, the reason why maybe many people that do well in school struggle in life is because of this pride, right? Because maybe in school they are used to reading by themselves or reading with people of like mind, smart people. So it's very easy for them to actually get similar ideas and things like that. But then when people transit, when people go into the real world, they discover that maybe some of these ideas are not with the smartest people. We already talked about how great ideas can come from ordinary people, ordinary sources at times. So it takes humility to actually learn from such individuals. But it's not just about that. Even with what you know, maybe you want to teach others, you want to maybe impart knowledge to others, it must be with this attitude of humility. You want to lead, it must be with this attitude of humility. In anything that you do, it must be with this attitude of humility. So I say, an ignorant but humble person will go farther in life than a knowledgeable but proud person. I take that again. An ignorant but humble person will go farther in life than a knowledgeable but proud person. I suggest you take some time to reflect on that. Why? Because if a person is ignorant and they are humble, it's not difficult for them to acknowledge that I don't know some things. I will learn. I'll put myself down. I will stoop low to learn. As simple as that. So a humble person, but they may be ignorant, they can learn. There is hope for them. They will learn. They can catch up. They can learn. That's why you see elderly people, for example, returning to school. Maybe 50-year-olds or whatever, going back to school to say, oh, I want to learn, I want to catch up, I've discovered I'm defective in this area, so I want to catch up. As simple as that. So that's why I say a humble person that is ignorant, right, is far better than somebody that is knowledgeable but proud. Because in most cases, they already set a ceiling on themselves. They already set a ceiling on how far they can go with their pride. They'll be going about with what they know. And like we said last month, there is nobody that does not know anything, but there is nobody that knows everything. So they'll be going about with what they know, and they won't know how what they know may be limiting them. Right? So somebody said, like, so many of us celebrate what we know so much. We celebrate what we know so much that we don't pay attention to what we do not know. That is what we are talking about. This is why we are talking about adding humility or being humble with our knowledge. Being humble as we acquire knowledge, as we go higher in life. The biggest challenge is actually to remain humble, because that is actually where we keep growing, when we keep increasing, when we keep learning. Having this attitude to learn, this teachability, that despite the fact that yes, I'm growing in knowledge, despite the fact that I'm growing in results, despite the fact that the evidence or the proofs are there, I keep humbling myself. I humble myself. So it is very, very important. And somebody, like it's in the Bible, it says, pride goes before a fall. And somebody said, if you see anybody that make grievous mistake in life, you see anybody, maybe a celebrity, a successful business person, people that have failed in whatever, that whenever you see serious error, grievous mistake, that what is responsible is pride. And that is according to the wisdom of God. That what is responsible is pride. The fact that it is not plain to you, the fact that it is not obvious to you, does not mean that is not the cause. It may manifest in several ways. Maybe they have neglected instruction, they have failed to listen to advice, they have not taken to corrections, and over time the consequences have caught up with them, so to speak. That is why we're talking about this pride. Maybe if you watch some of the movies that we watch, maybe somebody that is an armed robber, or people that are into maybe fraudulent practices, because they've mastered the skill so much, they think, oh, I'm invincible now, until they are eventually caught. It's the same with many maybe people that fail in life, dictators and things like that. At the root, closely related to their failure, is their pride. And like I said the last time, hubris is a major cause of pride or of failure. So being humble with knowledge, being humble, it is something that we need to be conscious of. As we acquire knowledge, we need to keep reminding ourselves of the need to be humble, of the need to be humble. That is very, very significant. Remember what I said, it is better to be ignorant and humble than to be knowledgeable and proud. However, the best, of course, is to be knowledgeable and humble. The best combination is to be knowledgeable and humble. And that is something that God wants us to actually exhibit. So that is the next thing to do with knowledge. Now, what else do we need to do with knowledge as I wrap up this discussion on the power of knowledge? Very simple. Share and help others with what you know. Share and help others with what you know. If you were ignorant about something before and you have benefited from knowledge, what do? Help others to overcome the same. As simple as that. Help others to overcome the same. One of the reasons why personally I'm passionate about having right information, right knowledge, is because I've been frustrated with lack of knowledge before. I've been frustrated with ignorance before, and I know how limiting it can be, and that's in almost every area of life. So this is why it is important to understand what we're talking about. Help others with what you know. Help others with what you know. Share what you know with other people. Now, in the Bible, Luke chapter number 22, verses 31 and 32. In the Bible, Jesus talking about Peter's trial that Satan has asked to sift him as wheat. Jesus said he had prayed for Peter, but he didn't stop there. He said, but afterwards, when you are converted, strengthen your brethren. When you are converted, when you have overcome the problem, when you are strengthened, when you have overcome the difficulty, when you have acquired the knowledge, when you have the result, when you have traded with the knowledge, with the information, when you have produced result with it, what should you do with it? He says, strengthen your brethren. If you have found something useful, you have tested it, you have verified it, you have produced result with it, what do you do with it? Help other people with it. Teach what you know to others. Help somebody. It may be a young person in the neighborhood. Help them. Help them to grow up. Teach them, impart them with the things that you know. Maybe you were struggling to get a job before, or you were struggling with underemployment. Now you are gainfully employed. What skills, what experiences have you got? What lessons have you learned? Help somebody to grow with the same. As simple as that. Help somebody to grow, to prosper with the same thing that is prospering you. As simple as that. When you understand this, it is very important. It's a principle of life that when you give something, when you release something, you don't lack that thing. It multiplies to you. And this was something I actually tried, that I put to work when I was studying for my undergraduate. I saw that many of my colleagues were struggling with some concepts, some theories that we were learning then. But those things were not difficult for me. I just learned them, and I was teaching other people. And I discovered that the more I taught people, the more I retained what I had learned, the easier it became for me to actually understand and, of course, answer questions relating to them. Because even in the course of discussions like that, there were other things I was able to consider that I probably did not consider before. So this is why it is important to share what you have learned. And this is something that is very practicable. If something has benefited you as a person, of course, with discretion, you see how you can use the same to bless others, to add value to other people. When you begin to do that, you discover that in no time, you're actually making a real difference in the life of people around you. And before you know it, you become a great person, you become a successful person. Share what you know, helpful tips that you have learned, even your mistakes. If you have avoided some mistakes in life and you have seen other people that have made this mistake, help younger people, people after you in particular, people that look up to you to overcome such. This is absolutely essential, and it covers every area of life, whether it's parenting, whether it's investment, whether it's employment, whether it's even friendship, relationship, whatever. when you have learned or you have prospered with a particular information, what do? Share it with others. Let the same bless others. That is creating a ripple effect, a multiplier effect. The more people are blessed by the same, the more people improve their lives. And of course, the greater success that is being recorded all over. And of course, the better you become for it as a person, because you cannot go down when you are helping other people up. You cannot go down, you cannot remain on the ground when you are helping other people up, even if you don't want it. No, it's a law of nature, it's a law of life. So Jesus told Peter, when you are converted, don't just go and sit down and be thanking God that you are free, that it doesn't matter what happened to other people. He says, strengthen your brethren. Don't say God will help them. Whatever happens to them is not your business. You have been converted for a purpose, that you are stable, you are stabilized, but don't just rejoice at your own stability. Help other people to become stable as well. Help other people. And of course, what we have talked about, discretion, will help you to actually know what to do with who at any given point in time. So help others, share what you have learned with other people, let them keep growing. They are, like I said, and this is not a contradiction to my point about adding discretion to knowledge. It's just an extension of it, and it's a way of actually honoring God, number one, with what you know, and helping other people, making a positive impression, a positive contribution to the life of people around you. And most times you will discover you don't even need to do big things to help people. You don't need to do big things to make a lasting impression on people. Just a little help here and there will go a long way. When you are converted, when you are transformed as a person, when that knowledge has profited you, has benefited you as a person, strengthen your brethren. Help somebody else to become who you are becoming in that sense, or take somebody else along in your journey of greatness. Do not just go on the journey alone. This is the main lesson that I want you to take away with from this number 5. The underlying principle, like I've said, is that what you use multiplies. What we use, naturally speaking, it multiplies. It is what we hold, what we keep, what we try to keep to ourselves that diminishes. And this is very crucial. So these are the points that I believe will make us to profit maximally with knowledge. And if you put all of this series together, part 1 to 4, there is no way that you will not see genuine transformation in your life when you begin to take conscious steps to acquire knowledge, and you begin to put mechanisms in place to process this knowledge correctly, as you read books, as you listen to messages, as you go for training, as you learn from people, as you engage in interaction with friends and all of those things. You learn from several people, and then you are able to process them, you are able to apply this correctly. You had discretion to knowledge, and of course you are humble with what you know. The essence of knowledge is not to show off, it's not to prove anything to anybody. You don't need to prove anything to anybody most times. Just live your life, maximize your potential, and enjoy the grace of God as the same has been given to you. And the last point, just help others to grow. Share what you know, bless others with what you know, and there is no way your life will remain the same. So I suggest you listen to this again, including all that we've talked about with regards to the power of knowledge, and see how these apply to your situation and what you can do with the same. And of course, part of what we have talked about, for example, is to share. Now, this has blessed you, or any of the series that I've shared with you has blessed you. Please do share it with somebody that you feel will benefit from the same, and of course like it, let other people be notified of this, and of course their lives also will be blessed, and the name of the Lord will be glorified. Now, of course, if you've got any questions, any clarifications about anything that I've talked about, or if it's regarding your walk with God, you want to get your walk with God right, or you've got questions along that line, I'll be happy to answer any of those questions. So if you send me a message, the email address is in the description box. I'll be happy to answer your questions and get back to you in good time. So thank you so much for coming. And in terms of our next meeting, our next meeting will be in June 2023, the 16th of June 2023, and I'll be talking about a different topic, a new topic entirely, and that topic is productivity and prosperity. Productivity and prosperity, that is productivity and financial prosperity. What is the link between the two, and how can you actually be financially stable by paying attention to issues, the issue of productivity? Thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, please share it and let others be blessed. Thank you, and God bless you. Bye bye.